Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 501, Action Point Games.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
Meeple Nation Podcast is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Upgrade every game of your game night with a beautiful game topper from GameToppersLLC.com. We love our game toppers. In fact, I recently went to a party where there were games and no game toppers, and it was mentioned, why didn't you bring your game toppers? And I'm like, well, I honestly thought about it, but I didn't want to tear everything down.
It's not such an easy process, but it's not a hard process either.
Exactly. And we've taken our toppers to SaltCon conventions and when we've hosted games. And those of you that have experienced that, you know how wonderful it is to plan a game topper. If you don't or haven't experienced that yet, you should. Visit GameToppersLLC.com, pick up a game topper for your home, and you will not regret it.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Douglas Stewart.
I'm Nathan Howard.
And I am Andy Holiday.
Hey, if you've got a quick second, head on over to MeepleNation.com. We've got all of our episodes posted there. You can read some blogs, check out a little bit more about us, see what we're doing on our social accounts, and hit that Patreon link that will take you to Patreon where you can have a chance to support us. We are actively trying to make our Patreon a little better by having some bonus episodes. We've got other things in the works, so stay tuned for that. We love our patrons and would love it if you would go check that out and see if becoming a patron is right for you. Also, we love to hear from our listeners, so please drop us a line at meeplenation@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
And we've had some great conversations with Salvatore, and we have another question of his that we're going to be putting some further thought into coming up.
Yeah, he gave us a great prompt for an episode, and I can't wait to hit that one soon. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So you too, jump on and give us a prompt, or be impromptu. Oh, never mind.
All right, well, let's start off the episode with some highlights.
That's a great idea, Andy. Let's start this episode off with some highlights.
That is a great idea. So I want to talk about a game that is fairly new, and Doug was kind enough to, while we were finishing up a different game, bust this one out and taught it to us. And this is a fun little pressure luck game called Deep Dive. Deep Dive is one that it's a very simple game. I've quickly took it to my wife and have played it a couple of times with her now, and she very much enjoys it because she very much enjoys the pressure luck element. When I told her it was her kind of game, she thought I was being mean because it was such a simple child's game, what the term she used. And I was like, no, it has nothing to do with that, but I'm sure that's why you enjoy it also. But she enjoys the pressure luck element, mostly because she can't not press her luck. And so Deep Dive is you're a penguin group. You're a group of 3 penguins, and you are diving into the sea to forage food. And there are 5 levels of depth that you can go down, and the further you go down in the depths, the more likelihood you're going to find a predator, but also the food sources are down there are going to be worth a lot more points. This is also a set collecting game where there are 3 different colors of food, and it doesn't matter what number they are. Your first set is going to be a set of the 3 colors, green, blue, and red.
It's green, yellow, and pink.
Green, yellow, and pink. I was way off. But you collect those sets, and if you have a complete set of those 3 colors, then you're going to score face value of those food sources. Otherwise, you're going to score half that face value round down. So it definitely behooves you to try to manage that. But as you dive down, you're going to go to the first level, and you're going to look. And if you find a predator, your turn ends, and your penguin's going to be there trying to distract or evade that predator. On your next turn, you can actually skip any level that your penguin is on. However, if your penguin is in the middle, you still have to go through the first 2 phases or the first 2 depths before you can skip that phase, skip that depth. But if the further you go down, like I said, the more chances of getting those points. Fun little pressure luck game, 15, 20 minutes, 1 to 6 players, and the player count doesn't really affect, I think, the game adversely. And this is one that I recommend as a fun filler game, Andy. And this is actually a game I know you own. So it's already a filler game that you have on your shelf.
Ah, shucks.
Oh, shucks.
Thanks, Nathan.
No, I did like Deep Dive. I think this is a good little filler game. It is very simple, but it kind of triggers that same part in your brain that Can't Stop does.
Absolutely.
You're kind of diving down and it's like, no, one more level. No, one more level. That's a killer. That's a killer whale.
Yeah.
I just got eaten.
I got the shark. Yep. Yeah.
But no, really fun. And I actually really like how it's not just, those who press their luck and get more lucky down in the depths are going to win the game. You know, you have to flush out those sets. So a lot of times when you get like a higher scoring, food token, you're going to want to kind of flush that set out with lower scoring things so that you can make sure you score the full value instead of half value. So the way that they have balanced that out, I think worked really well.
Yeah.
Simple game, but works good.
We played with Stasia, and Stasia was all about getting all the way down to the bottom. She ended up not completing a single set of colors, I think both times that we played.
Yeah. But she did find a lot of sharks.
She did find a lot of sharks.
And she was having a lot of fun doing it.
Absolutely.
So who are we to say that it was a bad strategy, even though it was a really bad strategy?
Not everybody plays the game the same. All right, what do you got, Andy?
I finally got a chance to play Heat Pedal to the Metal.
Yes. I love this game.
And, and racing games typically aren't my cup of tea, but I actually really had fun with this one. I liked the game mechanics of having to hit those corners just right and slow down, gear down right. And it was actually really enjoyable. And it really helped that I beat Nathan. And it was honestly, it was between Nathan and I. We kind of took off.
Yeah, we did.
Away from the pack. And we took one turn. We just timed it perfectly, took a little bit of heat to get around that one turn. And we opened it up after that. And there was no chance anybody was catching us. So it was really came down to Nathan and I at the end. And it was a photo finish, but it was fun.
So this is one I'm also playing with my wife on BGA. And the BGA implementation fills in so that even when you're playing 2 players, there's 8 cars on the track. And
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so 6 of those are AI driven. So you think you would be able to beat those, right?
Not so much, huh?
I came in 7th out of 8.
Wow. Oh, so what you're saying is I beat Nathan really isn't saying anything? Is that-
Probably not. After that other game, yeah, not so much.
That's awesome. I really like Heat, though. This is a
great
good game. And it's not really deck building, but it is kind of a deck management game. And you've really got to manage how those Heat cards come in and out of your deck, trying not to take all of them, obviously, because then you're going to spin out.
Right.
But you do want to take some.
Yep.
It definitely is good to push that heat kind of to the limit and then back off when you need to and try to make those corners smoothly, but you want to go into the next stretch with some good momentum. And I like that this comes with a variety of maps, and it also comes with a bunch of advanced play that I haven't dived into, but I would really like to.
I didn't realize that. That's cool.
Yeah, there's like tournament modes and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Really cool stuff that is still unexplored.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited that you got to play that. Hopefully that means you'll be willing to play it more in the future.
Yeah, I think I would be willing to.
Good. Okay, so the game that I wanted to make mention of, we've talked about this before on the podcast quite a bit, but I'm going to bring it up because I've been really excited that we're diving back into it, and that is Stars of Ikarios. We were playing through this. We got a really good start. We kind of got through the tutorial, which was, 5 or 6 missions. It kind of was enough to introduce you to the different mechanics and give you like a planetary exploration and some dogfights and make some of those decisions and explore space a little bit. And then we had a little bit of a hiatus. We shelved it and we didn't get it out for quite a while. We were working on other projects and scheduling and everything. Well, we finally have been getting it back to the table with regularity. And it's awesome.
Such a great game.
It's really a good game. And the more and more we explore, the more I like it. And the way that it does the branching path, you can kind of pick and choose what you want to tackle and in what order. And it just uses a system of keywords to kind of keep track of the decisions you've made and what you have and haven't done. And I really like it. The ship upgrading's fun. I thought the planetary exploration. So the first planet exploration that we did, I thought was really good. And then we did a big, huge world that was almost like the whole game night was exploring this. And I thought that was a lot of fun. And then we did this last one, and it was a smaller map, but it kind of made us feel stupid because we were just like, oh, why didn't we not realize that it was giving us the clues of the order we needed to collect this stuff?
Yeah.
We were so dumb. It was like, oh yeah, it's written right there.
Yeah. But no, we got to be strong and do it our way.
And we did manage to pull it off, and it was super satisfying and had just an absolutely great time. So I really like it's kind of the dogfights are kind of a Gloomhaven style play. And then the planetary exploration is kind of like Seventh Continent, only fun, as Nathan would put it.
Yep, I like that.
And then you've got kind of the space exploration where you're moving around and you have to manage the mothership's resources and that kind of thing. Anyway, I'm just really excited we're getting to play more Stars of Ikarios, and I highly recommend that people check out this game. I think you can still buy copies on the publisher's website, but also they are going to be launching their 1.5 Kickstarter soon. And so I'm excited to see what quality of life improvements come with that. And yeah, we'll probably talk more about that in the future. Stars of Ikarios.
Such a great experience. This week, we are discussing
Action Point Games.
Actions Point Games. I wanted to say something about action stars in my discussion of discussing stuff.
There it is. That's what I was waiting for.
Action Point Games are a game where a player receives a number of action points, and they can use those action points to complete various steps, tasks, abilities, movement, all on their turn. It's typically a turn-based game, but not always. The player has to manage their points, when they spend them, and what they're doing with each point. And each point can, but is not always a separate mechanic. So that kind of just, in a nutshell, describes what action point games are, so that as we begin this discussion of discussing this subject, we're all on the same page.
I love it. So let's immediately dive in and talk about Blood Rage, because that's the game we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, sorry. No, Action Point Games. I'm sorry. No, I'm excited to talk about Blood Rage because this is one I've been trying to get to game night for a while. This is one of my favorite games.
Right. And
it definitely uses this action point system. Now, the actions that you get are based on, it's your rage track. So you're spending rage points, right? Like, so as we talk about these games, the quote unquote actions are going to be called different things in a lot of these different games. In Blood Rage, it's your rage points, but managing your rage is really important. And you can do a lot of stuff for free. You know, for example, if you upgrade a unit, you can invade with that unit for free. You can quest for free. You can do all this stuff for free as long as your rage, your action points haven't reached 0. And so you're going to go through 3 ages and spend all your rage. And you're going to basically be upgrading characters, invading, pillaging, and trying to gain the rewards that are on the various bases out on the board. I was really happy that we were able to get this to game night. We played it at one of Andy's game nights recently, and I had a blast. I thought it was really fun. I think everybody else had a really good time. I know there was a little consternation at the table because, you know, it was sort of like, it does kind of have that it's one of those games. It's like, well, if I'd known that, I would have played a little different, you know, kind of thing.
Were you playing with Dave?
Well, yes. And maybe Andy.
Oh, Andy? I don't believe I said that.
I know you were a good sport about it.
I believe I just complained about Dave hosing me over and over and over again.
It did seem like he was one step ahead of you on some of that stuff.
It's like sitting to the right of, or to the left of Richie. You just did what I wanted to do.
But one of the things that I really like about action point games is that it does create kind of this fun tension. And especially in a game like Blood Rage or any of these where the points that you get is almost like a resource or something that can change as the game goes on, because you have some of those rounds where you spend all your action points and you're doing cool things and all that. But then you have to pass. You get to the point where it's like, well, I'm done. I'm at action points. It's over for me. And you still have people at the table that are out there moving units and doing stuff and strategizing and getting stuff done. And it's like, man, maybe I should have paid a little more attention to my action points and what I was going to do. But I think the tension that creates at the table is really fun.
Yeah. I love it when a game brings in, I like to call it that anxiety of the game. Like, oh, I should have managed that better. I should have been more on top of this or that.
Or I shouldn't have brought in that fire giant and spent a ton of blood rage when it would have done me way better just to hold on to it.
Yeah. All those little mistakes.
Yep.
That's true, actually. Yeah, that was expensive. That cost a lot.
A lot, yeah. And it was one that once I did about 2 rounds after, I'm like, wow, that was a huge mistake. I should not have done that.
But it was so cool.
That's why I did it ultimately, because it was cool. But strategically, it wasn't very cool.
Yeah, it was still awesome.
So Blood Rage is a game I haven't played since it originally came out. And Doug, you and I have started a game of this on BGA.
And it's broken.
So we need to restart that.
We'll restart it.
And I need to do a refresher on the rules for sure.
Yeah. Well, like I said last time we talked about it, Rodney Smith does a great teach of this, so it's should be easy to pick up.
Yep. I just gotta get that round to it found, and then I can get around to it.
Well done.
You like that?
Yeah,
I'm full
nice,
of the.
nice job.
I'm full of something tonight.
Something. So what are some other action point games that you guys like?
So a recent one that I've found that I have some enjoyment for is a fun game called Adrenaline. Adrenaline is, of all things, a first-person shooter board game. And you have your mech, your robot that you're going to run through the maze, and you're trying to pick up weapons, pick up ammo, and eliminate your opponent. And when you eliminate them, they just respawn, and it just brings back that whole load of feelings, flashbacks to early Halo days or those fun experiences of those first-person shooters.
First-person shooter LAN parties.
Yes, those were the best. Had a ton of fun with those original LAN parties, and just having everybody there in person was great. And I think this Adrenaline kind of brings that all together. Simple mechanics, simple play, has a lot of fun still.
I liked Adrenaline a lot. Lots of fun weapons to choose from. And like you said, recreates that kind of anxiety of running around the board, shooting each other, and then you just respawn and do it again. So it doesn't feel real yucky when you get shot or get taken out.
You get over that being killed pretty quick. So.
It sounds like one I need to try.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I think this is one that your son Caden
would love.
Yeah,
for sure. It sounds right.
You might even get Carson to cheat at this one.
I'm sure if I got Carson to play, he would definitely cheat. There's no doubt in my mind. Well, speaking of games that you really love, Zombicide 2nd Edition. I love this game. Now,
so fun.
It really is. And I don't particularly like zombie-themed things, and which is the biggest reason why I never really got into any of the Zombicide stuff. And then along came Doug and introduced us to Zombicide 2nd Edition.
First play's free.
And that's exactly right. The first play was free. The second one was not because I bought it.
Yep.
And the third one wasn't either because I bought more stuff.
Yep.
And then more.
And more.
And more. And more.
But it's so fun. And now this is one that my son Caden does love. He constantly is asking me if we can play Zombicide. It's one of those games that, you take on these heroes fighting zombies, and it's just a bloodbath. You're just fighting zombies. You're just finding cool guns and searching rooms and trying to kill as many zombies before, and hopefully you don't get killed. Sometimes you do. But in fact, I think my first play with him, we both died. He was like, all right, let's do it again. And he wasn't concerned that we lost the game. He just wanted to dive right back into it.
It's such a great game for that reason, because you do just kind of wipe the plastic off the board, put everything back in its original starting position, reshuffle the decks, and you just go again when you lose. Because, come on, you can't lose. You're going to lose to a horde of zombies, even though you lose all the time. But going back to kind of the action point part of this game, that's, I think, what makes the game really fun, is you do have to be efficient with how you use your actions.
Absolutely.
You're only given a certain number on a turn, and it's part of the fun leveling up process, because as you level up, you unlock new actions. Not only the number of actions that you can take, but that you can take better actions.
That's probably one of the things I like most about Zombicide is the leveling up and improving your character, which usually the first thing that you do is you get an extra action during the round. But there's also that element of balance between all the heroes. You don't want one person to level up, because that just means you're getting more and more stuff out there, and you by yourself has leveled up, but nobody else has. You're in for a rough road.
Yeah, I love how that kind of levels that out. All that leveling keeps it on a level playing field, because I got a level with you guys that is very frustrating in a game when you're playing and somebody just boosts right up there. They're doing all the cool stuff, and you're stuck at those lower levels.
Well,
just trying to move.
And with Zombicide, you pay for it. I mean, that's possible. It can and does happen in Zombicide 2nd Edition, but if it does, your chances of losing go way up.
Yeah, the group definitely needs to work together to make sure everybody's having an equal opportunity to at least try to kill stuff so that they can level up.
Right.
Now, I will say this is also kind of the game's Achilles heel, just a little bit, because, and I know this was Dave's big argument, right? When you play a game of Zombicide, if it's one of the smaller maps or it's just a quick mission or whatever, you don't really get to see your character build to full fruition. You may get them up to that second tier. Maybe one player will get up to that third, but for the most part, you're kind of going through the motions at base level, and you don't get to see an improvement of your abilities and the number of actions that you can take. And so this game shines. It is at its best when you are playing the longer missions that just sort of flood the map with lots of zombie plastic. And then there's lots of stuff to kill, which means lots of leveling up, which means lots of character development and more actions and funner actions and loot and everything else.
As long as you don't die first.
Yeah.
As long as you don't die first, which definitely happens.
Great game. And the President's expansion was awesome.
Yeah, it really was.
With Reagan's ray gun. Very good. Yeah, Zombicide, good pick for actions.
So one game that is always on the top of my list, but for some reason I left off my top 5 for this subject, is Star Wars Imperial Assault. So in Star Wars Imperial Assault, each player has actions that they can take during their turn, and how they use those actions dictates their turn. And as far as story goes, as far as gameplay goes, Star Wars Imperial Assault is always at the top of my list. But coming up next week, when we talk about our top 5 on this subject, I was going to say you're not going to find a single Star Wars game on my list, but you'll still find one. But it's not going to be Star Wars Imperial Assault.
I don't think it would be a top 5 for you if there wasn't a Star Wars.
You're probably right. I was going to say we should do a top 5 Star Wars games, but I think I've had one of those already in one of our other top 5. So
your head might melt trying to narrow it down, actually.
It might.
That's what I'm worried about. That's awesome. A really fun action point game that we got to play recently that I thought was really a lot of fun. I don't know how you felt about it, Nathan, but I think we all enjoyed it quite a bit. And that was Survive, Escape from Atlantis. This is like a 30-plus-year-old game, so we're playing with like the 30th anniversary edition that I just recently picked up. Basically, the premise is, we've all gone to Atlantis, we've plundered it, and now we're trying to escape with as much treasure as possible as it's sinking into the ocean. And so you have a set number of actions on your turn, and you're trying to get as many of your people out into safety as possible. Every turn, there's a lot of that anxiety on like, okay, how am I going to spend these actions to get people moved to the edge of the islands, to get them on boats, to move the boats, to try to get around all of the little sea creatures, the sharks and whales and sea serpents that are out trying to hunt them and take everyone down. How am I going to be efficient with using those actions to get my people to safety and save as much treasure as possible? And I had a blast playing this game. This is very much a take that game.
Oh, yeah. But it's a very short game,
but
too.
Yeah, but it was short. And I don't think the sting of that was bad at all.
Right. Yeah, because it's going around and around and around. You're moving those predators, those sharks. I can't even remember what the other predators were.
Yeah, I think there were whales, sharks, and sea serpents.
Yeah, and so you're using all those to eliminate either a swimmer or a boat. Being able to take out your pawns that way that you're trying to get back to safety. This is a game I think that my wife would very much enjoy. It's not one that I think she'd be good at because it's a pressure luck game, and she would lose all of her survivors rather quickly. But I think she would still have fun with this. This is one that I'd like to borrow from you sometime to give her a shot at, or maybe at a BryceCon or something like that where we're all together. Give her the opportunity to play that because it's a simple game and the time frame's just right, and the theme and the fun of the game is spot on. The island is sinking, pieces are falling off. Sometimes you're on the dry land, you got to swim, get to a dry land, and hopefully you can swim off the other side before it sinks. And you have to swim because swimming takes longer. It's not as easy to swim as it is to run across the dry ground. I think this was a great game. I very much enjoyed my play of it.
Good. Yeah, it's one I'd like to visit some more for sure.
Have both of you played Altiplano?
I love Altiplano.
I like Altiplano.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this. You're going around the board, moving around, trying to build the best production. This is a bag builder, so you're buying different resources that are going to go in your bag that will allow you to do additional actions around you're actually building the board. It's a modular thing that you can go around and you're going to be traveling. And so there are ways to travel faster, or you can spend resources to move. Ultimately, you're trying to get an engine built with the bag builder part of this. And through the bag building process, you're going to be able to select different actions. The more efficiently you build your bag of resources, the more actions are going to be opened up to you. On top of that, you're trying to fill your warehouse. And that's really where the bulk of the points come from this game, is filling your warehouse in an efficient way to try to get, you have to have like goods in your warehouse unless you can put corn in there as a wild resource, which is not the easiest thing to get. But as you build up your warehouse, you can score just a gob of points. But this is a game that I've had a ton of fun playing. The action selection part of this, or the action point part of this, is great. I love back builders anyway. I do have one complaint about this game, and I've mentioned it before on the podcast, and that's the components are absolutely horrible.
Yeah, this is something that you want to 3D print something.
Which is exactly what I did. Yeah. I went and 3D printed. So it's those carts in particular are really, really garbage components. So I went and printed 3D carts, and then I went and did like little barrels and stuff for it. So this is actually a game I've tricked out with my 3D printer. I really like Altiplano. In fact, my biggest regret is that we don't play it more, because I wish that it hit the shelf more often.
It hits my shelf all the time.
Yeah, it's on my shelf.
Or the table. Sorry, did I say shelf? Yeah, no, it's hitting the shelf all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a great game. And even beyond the carts, really just the cardboard. I don't know what cardboard they're using, but the cardboard's terrible in this. It wouldn't be that much, I wouldn't think, to just get a little bit better cardboard for their components, especially for a bag builder. It reminds me, you think of games like other bag builders like Quacks of Quedlinburg, right?
Yeah.
The cardboard's better. Even that cardboard wears out, and you end up having to get those resin pieces, which obviously is a huge and wonderful upgrade, right?
Well, actually, the same people who make that upgrade with those resin pieces make an incredible upgrade for Altiplano.
Ooh.
Which I have. So all those resources are nice little acrylic tiles.
I need to find that. I have not seen that before.
The next time we play, we'll play with my copy. You can check it out.
Okay, we're going to have to do that.
Because it is awesome.
But Altiplano is, as far as action point games, it's towards the top of my list of games that I love.
Love it. I'm actually glad to see you talking about that one a little bit more, because I saw it on the shelf just the other day, and I was like, man, we don't play that anymore. And so now...
Maybe we will.
We will. We'll have to.
My next one is a fun little game called Takanoko. And this is a game all about creating a bamboo garden to impress the Emperor of Japan. And as you're building your bamboo garden, you have a panda that's there who will eat your bamboo. Exactly. And so you have the farmer that's trying to grow the bamboo, and you have the gardeners trying to grow the bamboo. You have the panda that's trying to eat the bamboo, and then you have pattern building that you're trying to lay out tiles on the board. Then you can draw and add irrigation paths. And so this game, you have those actions that you can do, and you're going to pick 2 of those actions to do on your turn. Sometimes those actions are completed, or your patterns are completed by other players, or the required bamboo growth or bamboo height is completed by other players, and you want it to remain at that level so that on your turn you can say, that's done, I can get these points. Or you can manipulate that by, I'm going to move the panda to trim down this bamboo a little bit so that my panda has required color of bamboo that he needs in his belly to score me points there. And then that also helps me trim down the bamboo so that I have bamboo at a certain height in certain colors. A wide variety of ways to score points. Once somebody has achieved 8 of the goal cards, that triggers the end game. And then after that, whomever has the most points is rewarded with the Emperor's blessing of having the best garden. Fun little game. My daughter loves to play this game with me. They have a jumbo version, which is...
I was just going to say...
really cool.
Well, because this game already has what I would consider to be a really awesome table presence.
Yes.
So, because you're stacking those little bamboo pieces up, and it looks really cool and fun on the table. But that big box giant edition, each one of those hex tiles is massive. And then the bamboo as it comes together, I mean, you've got those shoots of bamboo that are sticking almost a foot off the top of the table when you get them up to those higher heights. And it just looks really cool. It's got nice painted, the farmer piece and the panda are really nice. So it's kind of a fun production as well on top of everything else. But yeah, I really like Takenoko. Kind of a fun game. And then you've also got they almost look like the roads from Catan, but I think it's your water transportation to irrigation. Yeah. So when you get that map kind of flushed out with all the bamboo growing and the pieces moving around and all the little canals built and stuff, this has a really fun table presence. It's a fun game.
Yeah, it's a really good game. It's an older game, 2011, has one expansion that introduces Mama Panda, and then you start making panda babies as well.
Bow, chicka, wow, wow.
And that is Takenoko. And it's a short playtime. It's 45 minutes.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
And it's on BGA. Not bad at all.
That's one I've never played, except for who cares if it's on BGA.
You know, you should get your wife to play on BGA. You guys would have fun.
I would be willing to play on BGA if I could get my wife to play on BGA. That's how much I would love to be able to play games with my wife.
Yeah, it's a great thing.
It can be. I still have mixed feelings. I really like BGA. It will never, ever, ever trump getting games to the table.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But it is a fun option.
For sure. Okay, so another action point game that I find thoroughly enjoyable that I don't get to play as much as I would really like to, and that is Android Netrunner. So in Android Netrunner, which is notorious for having different names for all of its actions and components and different things that it does, so everything has a unique name, but actions in Android Netrunner are called clicks. And it's kind of a term that's caught on. Like actually, I will hear gamers sometimes talk about clicks. So if you ever hear somebody talking about clicks, they're talking about actions and usually action efficiency. Like, oh, I can get a lot of clicks if I do this or, that kind of thing. Not social media clicks. These are action clicks. But, this game, it's super fun. You've just got the mega corporations versus the netrunners. The game is kind of tilted in the corporation's favor a little bit. But to balance that out, the corporations only get 3 clicks, where the runners get 4 clicks. And this is all about efficiency. If you like action point games, and in particular, if you like efficiency puzzles when it comes to action points, like how can I be the most efficient with how I spend these actions? This is a game that would be right up your alley. As an example, right, by default, you can spend 1 click to get 1 credit, which is, a money unit in the game. But if I have the right cards in play, I could start generating multiple credits with a single click. So as the game progresses, you're trying to get stuff out there so that you can maximize and make each one of those actions get a lot of free actions and do more and more and more with each one of your, quote unquote clicks. And that's something that I really like about it. This is a great game. I mean, we could talk about it for a long time. I don't know that this is one. No, you played this back in the day. I don't think Andy's played this.
Yeah. I still have quite a bit over there. In fact, I have several of the boxes that are still sealed over there because I haven't pulled those out. But that was one that I had several decks made, and I very much enjoyed the game. It's one of those games where I would make the decks and say, hey, here, you play this. And then people, when I create their decks, they're not nearly as invested in the game as if they had made their own deck.
Yep.
So if you have somebody that you're playing with that is into it equally, it's a super great opportunity.
Yeah. There's just so much to love about this game, right? The deck creation, the theme, everything that's going on. But in particular, that action point economy, being efficient, getting the most out of your clicks, that's really where this game shines.
I'm going to cheat just a little bit for this theme. I am going to talk about action points. But I'm going to talk about a game that doesn't use action points that would actually be hugely improved if it would use action points.
Okay, I'm a little bit intrigued.
Well, until next time.
So I recently got to play a game called Last Night on Earth. It's a zombie game. It's by Flying Frogs, and Flying Frogs does
Shadows of Brimstone.
Shadows of Brimstone, and I love Shadows of Brimstone.
Do you?
I do.
How much do you love Shadows of Brimstone?
I like it quite a bit. So,
like a giant wooden crate?
Probably
outgrew?
Yes, outgrown giant crate. Yes, that much. That being said, so I've looked at this game over the years, and I mentioned it. I think last week actually on the podcast it was one that maybe I should get it, maybe I shouldn't. It's a zombie game. I'm not huge into zombies, but hey, it's Flying Frog, and I love Shadows. Well, we played it, and it wasn't a flop, but it was like, okay, yeah, I'm glad I didn't pick that up. However, part of my beef with the game is that you kind of get hamstrung on what you do. You can either move or you can do an action. You can move or you can search or you can attack, or you basically have one action that you can do every single round. And that's it. As the heroes, I take that back. If you move into a space with a zombie, then you have to attack. You have to fight. But I think this game could be completely fixed as far as my experience with it. And I've only played it once. Even if it was just you have 2 action points, you can move twice, you can attack twice, you can search and move or whatever, right? So you have more options available to you on your turn and you feel like you're actually accomplishing something more than just, okay, well, I moved outside and I'm still outside, so that was the end of my turn. Our friend Kyle played with us and he kind of had the same thing. He'd come over, take his turn, do a move or just one search and go over and teach a game. And he was fairly uninvested in it. But yeah,
that's frustrating.
It was, but I understand because there wasn't really much for him to do at the same time, right? So it was very easy for him to come over, take his one action, and then step away. And because the zombies' turn would always take a fair bit of time. Man, if they just had action points in that game, it would have made it so much better, in my opinion. Could have made a mediocre game into actually a really fun game that I probably would be willing to throw some money at.
To be more invested in, for sure.
Right.
I don't know. Flying Frogs has enough for your money.
Oh, that is so true.
Now, kind of an intriguing, thought experiment, though, because I do think that action points can be a great equalizer.
For
right?
sure.
There are definitely games where certain players, you're sitting down playing, they have a mental propensity for certain types of games. And if they're not limited by action points, right, they're going to run away with it.
Right.
And then, of course, the opposite is also true. And so I think when you give players, it's that balancing mechanism in the game, right? You have 3 action points. You have 3 action points. Here are the things you can do with them. I think that can go a long way to equalize out a game. That'd be kind of an interesting thing to introduce into this one in particular, Last Night on Earth.
Well, and I think it makes it so it makes the game a little deeper. It makes it a little meatier as you're playing and you're taking your turn, where I feel like I actually accomplished something because, I had 3 actions or I had 2 actions, and it's not just, okay, well, I made it into this room. All right, next person's turn. They do one thing, and then it's 20 minutes of zombies doing stuff. And then it's my turn again, and okay, well, I have to move again because I can't do anything else. So I moved, and then...
That's so frustrating, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a game of chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it would be so much better if just having options and feeling like I'm doing something on my turn. That was my biggest complaint with it, and action points would have solved that, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, this is a game that my friend Logan Sievers really enjoyed and wanted to play before he moved up to northern Idaho. Yeah, I mean, there's so many little frustrations with it that I'm glad I only got the small sampling of the game that I did. So not on my top 5, but maybe with some action points that would change up the game and make it far more appealing for me. Next one that I want to talk about. It's actually a 2-game combination, and it is the Secrets of the Lost Tomb and re-implemented as the Secrets of the Lost Station. So this is 2 different themes, all kind of around the same basis of the game. It's very similar to Betrayal at House on the Hill, but fun, where you're exploring out the tomb.
Easy there.
You're exploring out the tomb and trying to reach your goals and accomplish that. And the Secrets of the Lost Tomb is more of a kind of a one-off story base, whereas the Secrets of the Lost Station has, I think it's either 2 or 4 campaigns that you can go through to explore the whole storyline. Each time you play, the map's going to be different depending on which way you explore, which tiles you draw. It's very similar to House on the Hill. That way, where I'm going to explore this room, so I'm going to draw a random tile to go that way. And those elements are great. Your actions are, am I going to move? Am I going to explore? Am I going to interact with this tile? Very much an enjoyable game. If you want the Indiana Jones type feel, you got Secrets of the Lost Tomb. If you want the sci-fi theme, you got Secrets of the Lost Station. Plus, Secrets of the Lost Station has more of a campaign feel for it. Fairly short campaigns, doable campaigns, both really good options. And if I recall, the Secrets of the Lost Tomb is having an anniversary edition that is, I can't remember if it's going to go to a Kickstarter or now I'm going to have to look that up.
Awesome. Well, while you're looking that up, I will make mention of a couple of games that use action points that I'm excited to play. I have not had a chance to play them quite yet. And that is Tamashii Chronicles of Ascend. So this is a new Awaken Realms game Now this just fulfilled. So I got this just, I think a week or two ago. And so it's sitting on the shelf, just begging to be learned. This has kind of a cyberpunk theme to it and just looks like a really, really fun game. It's also Awakened Realms. So the production on it's really good. This is part of their, lighter weight category of game. So it's just one massive box instead of like 5 or 6 massive boxes. But I'm really excited about that. Also has an 8.2 currently. So that's one I would really like to play. Also, I'm super excited about Deliverance. And this is one, this has an 8.8 rating. Also just showed up in the mail, one that I kickstarted and uses action points. So 2 games that hopefully we'll be hearing about in the future.
Awesome. And then before we get too far away from it, it's Secrets of the Lost Tomb Epic Edition, which will be due out sometime in 2025.
Okay, not coming to Kickstarter though. It's not
well, I don't know
crowdfunded.
for sure if it's coming to Kickstarter or not. This is just information I'm gathering off of BGG.
Very nice. Well, that does sound kind of fun.
I wanted to like this next game way more than I did, and it kind of flopped with you two as well, if I do recall, and that was Kanban EV.
It was, I really wanted to like it more, and I think we need another try of it for sure before I can say it's not my game.
Yeah. Well, and it came down to the actually producing cars.
Okay, I got some things to say.
Yeah, I figured Doug would have more, maybe some negative feedback because Doug had a rough game.
No, I really wanted to like this game a lot more. Now, the car production thing, from a mechanic standpoint, I'm not sure what exactly they were thinking there, because I do think it was way too hard to push cars out.
Yeah.
And the fact that you could gather all the resources to push cars out, and then the little boss lady that comes, I can't remember her name, but she comes around.
Sandra.
Yeah, Sandra. So Sandra's the worst.
She is the worst.
She's worse than Bob from Time Stories.
Sorry for all you Sandras out there. We're not talking about you.
No, but this Sandra was the worst. But you could collect all those resources, and then when she hits your spot, she take them all away. And so it took a lot of the motivation out of pushing cars out, but you needed to push cars out, but it was laborious. And as they moved down that track, the benefit for pushing them out wasn't that great.
It wasn't. And then someone else later in the round could take advantage of the fact that you just produced a car. So you didn't reap a huge reward, but then the next player could. And it seemed a little broken.
Beautifully.
Which Doug did for me quite a few times.
No, Nathan did. Which was my real issue with the game was because Nathan didn't like it and was checked out. He was doing everything for you. He was setting you up beautifully, and he was just like, I don't care. I'm just.
That's not true.
It was 100% true, and that's why it ticked me off so bad. Because every time you took your turn, you were setting up Andy for massive points, because I was being very competitive. I thought actually Andy and I were doing pretty good. We were kind of neck and neck. I think I even had the lead for a while. And then the second you checked out and started making inefficient plays, Andy absolutely and the thing is, there was no way anybody could catch him. I mean, he absolutely ran away with that game.
Right. And they weren't inefficient turns. I mean, I was trying to do anything I could to do points. But yeah, you're right. I was so far out of it that I couldn't do anything. But that was the only thing that would lead me to any progression. And
I liked it. I don't know what Doug's complaining about. I thought it was great, Nathan. Thank you for taking efficient turns, because I thought they were very efficient.
I'm sure you did. Oh my gosh. But, certainly very problematic from a game balance standpoint, though.
Yeah.
For sure, because the game was absolutely tanked for me, and it had nothing to do with anything I was doing.
Yeah, and that's why it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, was just the fact that it's like, yeah, that one aspect of it, if they could have just fixed just that one thing to where it wasn't so, you have to do that to push the game along, but at the same time, you don't want to, because you're setting other players up, and it's super easy for them to take advantage of it.
So do you do nothing, or do you do that in some level of hope that you can do something about it later?
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of fell flat, which was such a bummer, because I love the concept of it, and most of the gameplay I actually really enjoyed. It was just that one thing, but it could have been easily fixed, I think. And we thought we were playing it wrong, but we looked back in the rules multiple times and we're like, no, I think we're playing it correctly.
We kept checking the rules because we thought we were doing it wrong.
But
still kind of felt like we did.
It really,
for real.
It really did. And maybe this is when I know that the Hug ladies really like Kanban, and maybe that's when that we need to play with them and just see, hey, maybe we were playing this wrong all along. And hopefully, I'm honestly hopeful that we were.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they play Kanban EV or just Kanban.
There's not much of a difference. It plays about the same. So,
Does it?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely one that I would be willing to try again, as long as Nathan goes right before me.
Nice.
A game from Arcane Wonders that we just recently received called Neotopia was one that I was a little bit surprised of how much I enjoyed this game. I thought this was the kind of the premise was a little simple, but the game was it provides a little bit of a challenge, and it provides enough of a challenge with causing you to not be able to play the same card type right after another. That kind of disrupted a lot of my turns anyways. And I know, Doug, it disrupted several of your turns as well.
Yeah, I hate that. But it works. It's good.
It's a balance for the game,
It's
right?
frustrating when it gets you, but it's not like, oh, they need to change this game. It's just a thing.
Yeah. But this is a game where you have 3 actions on your turn, and your actions are, I'm drawing a resource from a factory, and I'm adding it to one of the adjacent fields. And in those fields, I'm trying to increase technologies, which is essentially I'm creating set patterns. The table presence is very nice. The colors, the energy tokens are very bright, vibrant colors. They're nice, big, chunky tiles, and very colorful presence. And the mechanics, I think, are challenging enough that it's simple enough that it provides quick fun. The game lasts 30 to 60 minutes, but it's also challenging enough that it's not just, I'm going to take my turn and as blind motion. It's not like Kanban EV, Doug.
Thank heavens.
I actually really enjoyed Neotopia. This is one that I still need to get my wife to play. I have it down on our dining room table downstairs to get her to play. She likes the boxes that are a little smaller.
Well, this is a fun one, and it has a really cool tactile feel to it. Those acrylic tiles, the colors, the cards. I think everything on this production-wise was really good as well. This game falls into the category of game that I'm kind of like trying to come up with a good term to call games like this, and I think I've ended on it's a nice end cap, because this is not a filler. It's too long to be a filler, and it's a good midweight game. It's maybe on the simpler side of midweight, but I would still put it in kind of a midweight category, especially if you're playing with people who are, being competitive. There's definitely a lot to think about and to kind of sink your teeth down into. I think this is the perfect kind of game to play last. It's like it's the end cap of the game night, right? It's like we don't have enough time to pull out a full feature length game, but we want maybe just a little bit more than a filler, and something with just a little bit more than just a, casual play. We want something with a little more crunch to it. And so I think it fits into that category perfectly.
Plus something that's not, if you've played a game that was a brain burner, then you pulled this game out. It's not a brain burner, but you're still working your mind enough. There's still a decent level of strategy and trying to keep track of how that board changes. You have your plans on what you're doing for your next turn. Well, Nathan just went and totally messed that up. Now I've got to refigure what I want to do and where I'm placing my tiles. And the way the board changes every single time it gets back around to you definitely adds a layer of difficulty to it, but also a layer of strategy as to which of the depots you're pulling resources from. Because if you can pull certain ones out and get them into the section that you want to play in to make those shapes that are on your card so you can score. But what impressed me the most is the one time I played this, it was Logan and the 3 of us. And it's one of those where you want to try to get your score as even as possible in all 3 locations.
Yeah, the scoring is really a unique twist. I would like that.
It is. And it kind of forces you. It forces you to diversify and not just focus on any one thing, because the way the scoring works is your lowest score is going to be multiplied. So if you can get your lowest area that you're scoring in to be almost as high as everything else, you're going to score the most points from that section.
It's going to be a huge benefit.
And Logan did that much better than the rest of us and ended up kind of walking away with the game. But I love this game. It's great. It's a really fun, and I think that's a really good way to put it, Doug, that it's a great game to finish the night off with. I couldn't agree more.
It's a finisher or an end cap.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. The second time that we played it too, I thought that it was really fascinating because I think, was it Nathan? I don't remember if it was you, me and one other person at the table kind of really leaned into this. If you cluster your colors together in each of those fields, then for all of them that are touching and adjacent, you get to go up on the score track. And so it creates a really nice alternate avenue. If you're having a hard time matching up the patterns on the cards, you can just cluster up your colors in those areas. And then before you score, you get to go up the track for as many of those as you have clustered together. And so even the second time playing, I was kind of discovering sort of some of the nuance in how to play and strategize. So I really liked it. Neotopia is kind of a sleeper hit in my opinion. I don't think people are talking about it as much as they really should. It's a great game.
Yeah. Well, all right. We are close to our time. So some other games that I just want to touch on just real quick. Zaya, Legends of the Drift System, Black Orchestra, a new game that we haven't quite got the chance to play yet. Legends of Sleepy Hollow is another one that we want to get to the table that we've had for some time.
Why have we not played that one?
Andy read the rules, and then we just...
Yep. And now I have to reread the rules because
it's just got put on the shelf again. It's been a year.
I want to play that for sure.
Heroes of Landarian Sea, Tinner's Trail, Dinosaur Island, Above and Below, and those are just kind of a few that are on my list that I didn't get to.
Sleeping Gods, Runebound. Runebound 2nd edition was one of my favorite games for years.
Yeah, it was good.
And now they have the 3rd edition, Runebound, which I own but haven't played, but that's one I definitely need to get to the table. Mesopotamia, Near and Far. I mean, quite a few of these are...
Ryan Lockett games?
Yeah, Ryan Lockett games. The Forbidden Sky, that was probably my favorite of the Forbidden games because you're building that machine to like a circuit to try to get your rocket to blast off. Massive Darkness. I owned the 1st edition of this. Doug, you've owned the 2nd edition of this.
So good.
It's so good. Great dungeon delver. And then Twilight Imperium 3rd edition was formerly my favorite game, and we talked about this before, but it's one of those that it's a lifestyle game, right? It's one of those that people, obviously not 3rd edition anymore, but it's one of those that people, that's what they get together to play. Which
a lifestyle game.
It is. I don't play it very much anymore, hardly ever. I think it's been at least 5 years since I've played Twilight Imperium, but it's another one that has rated very high in my book over the years. But there's tons of great games out there that use the action points.
You're spot on. Western Legends, Evolution, Horrified, all the Forbidden games, like you kind of mentioned, Massive Darkness, Search for Planet X, Vagrant Song, some of the Pandemic stuff, Here to Slay, Burn Cycle, Skytear, Arceus, Sniper Elite. I've got a ton on my list that we didn't get to, but awesome. I think at the end of the day, maybe just important to sit back and kind of note that, like, how important this mechanism is to the hobby. There's a lot of games that use it, and implemented well, it's a great mechanism for board games, and one that we play a lot of action point games, a lot of them.
Yeah, some of my favorites
for sure. Which is why I'm really excited to talk about our top 5s.
Yes,
next week.
Yeah, I think it's. We've intentionally left out a lot of kind of lean-to games, so I think next week's going to be a fun episode
for sure. Until then,
we will see you taking your actions at the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/Meeple Nation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_Nation. or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.